Hare Krishna to everyone. We'd like to welcome each and every one of you on behalf of ISKCON Scarborough. This is our 22nd month of virtual class, and we are going through the pandemic, and with the blessings of ISKCON spiritual teachers like His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj, we are able to continue this program for you. Today, we are very pleased to welcome back His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj. Just one thing I would like to tell that I was asking Maharaj too this morning, that what inspired him not only to become a spiritual leader, but also a leader of the whole mankind, and walking 8 countries, cross-country walk, including Canada 4 times, USA, Israel, Ireland, Fiji Island, Trinidad, Guyana, and Mauritius. We can't even imagine that going to downtown walking. And he has completed 8 countries and cross-country walk. Just let you remember one thing we sometimes forget about: what time Maharaj appeared on this earth, or what day. It was October 5th, 1952. We are very blessed, mankind is very blessed to have him. 1973, he was initiated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada, and he took sannyasa in 1984. If you want to know about Maharaj, please visit his website, thewalkingmonk.net. Thank you, Maharaj. Today's topic is very difficult topics, and the name is dealing with difficult people. Maharaj, over to you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm happy to see everyone. Happy New Year to you all. I think it's still okay to say that for a few more days.
Yes.
Once we flip the calendar and say it's February, they just think you're outdated. You're old-fashioned. All right. So let us begin with just singing the Radha Madhava, and it might be an idea to mute for this, because if you try to sing with me, we'll never compute. It will be disjointed. There'll be a delayed reaction. So we'll start, and I'll make it very brief. Today's presentation is in honor of our Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Hare Krishna. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pariparajika Charya Sattara Sutta Sisima His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Jai Hare. Om Jnanatamrandasya Jnanachana Shlakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminita Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Shatarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, thank you very much. There was a request, or let's say a desire, by one of the members on board now, just giving some thanks about some of the poetry we've been presenting. And so I did finish one yesterday. And I'm wondering, am I heard okay? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you all right.
Okay, because I can certainly put on a microphone and see if it's a little bit even improved. Let's go for it. Let's try it out. It's a little slightly entangled. No, we're going to manage it here. Okay. And how is this? Is this better?
Yes.
Is it better?
Actually, it was better before too. Like.
Oh, okay. It depends.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is better. Yeah.
From the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, we have a story where King Yadu meets with an avatut, sort of a renounced man, and the renounced man, who's like a sadhu or a monk, he talks about how from nature he learned there's many gurus, spiritual masters. So in a modified version, I put together this poem, and it's called 24 Gurus. And here we go. A monk had come to visit a king in his royal town, and the king asked the monk why he wanders around. You are wise, wonderful, and ever so competent. What is it that molded you to be ever so confident? The monk replied, Your Majesty, nature sent me 24 gurus. Each one taught me a lesson, so they became my truths. If you have the time, I'll reveal my meaningful list. For each and every teacher, I'll give you just the gist. From the earth, I learned to be generous. From the wind, I learned to let troubles pass by. From the sky, I learned to bear much turbulence. From water, I learned to be clean of body and mind. From fire, I learned to burn favorable energy. From the moon, I learned to disappear, but be there. From the sun, I learned to shine and to share. From the ocean, I learned to do great and be grave. From the python, I learned to accept what's easily attained. From the moth, I learned not to dash too fast to what glares. From the honeybee, I learned to take only what's essential. From the honey badger, I learned conviction to obtain the best. From the serpent, I learned sometimes best things are done alone. From the wasp, I learned that he who stings will be stung. From the elephant, I learned, though wise, one can still fall into a trap. From the deer, I learned to keep the eyes open. From the fish, I learned to not let the eyes deceive. From a bird, I learned there is no territory that is safe. From a lovebird, I learned love can get you lost or found. From the craftsman, I learned to be honest and not crafty. From the innocent child, I learned to enjoy life freely. From the young woman, I learned, because I'm a monk, I won't be her partner. From the prostitute, I learned it's not the numbers. There's only one true love. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for listening. Okay, so our topic today is dealing with difficult people. And I pondered on what is a difficult person. And I had, after doing some meditating on this, I came to a conclusion, and that is that I am the most difficult person. And then what am I going to do about it? So that's the idea, right? And we can, I'm going to use as my reference here the Bhagavad Gita, which is what I always like to do. And the Gita, no doubt, explains the perplexities that Arjuna goes through. Perplexity is a word that Prabhupada used a few times over. It means difficult, it means challenge. So he went through his difficulties, and no doubt, categorically it's mentioned who is the difficult person in the case of Arjuna. Well, he's one of the first speakers in the Gita of the 700 verses. He's the third person to open his mouth. First, we start with Dhritarashtra, and then we start with Sanjay, and then there's Duryodhan. Duryodhan was a person overwhelmed by Kam, Krodh, and Lobh. He ranks there amongst the list of tyrants, the likes of Ravana, Kamsa, and so on. In more modern day terms, you can maybe say like a Hitler or a Stalin and some of their contemporaries. Megalomaniacs, we can say they're difficult people, but what about ordinary people? Can ordinary people be difficult? Meaning your co-worker or even someone who lives under the same roof as you. They can be a pain in the neck, a pain in the butt, or whatever term you like to use. And so they're tough. So one description of a difficult person is described in the 16th chapter of the Gita. So I'd like to start from there. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and I will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. That's chapter 16, and we're looking at a few verses 13 to 15. So you can actually check that out. So difficult people, très difficile. And if I use my little bit of French that I know, très difficile, very, very difficult people are those that just stand in the way and can make your life very miserable on many different fronts. And let's say you're walking down the trail, and the forest trail, everything's very beautiful. The birds are chirping. Everything's just going so nice. And then suddenly you're met with, some oppositions in the shape of maybe like the path is suddenly, it's got swampy and muddy and so on like that. Or sharp stones, like even in Vrindavan, when you do the parikrama around the Govardhan Hill, there's certain areas, and you're encouraged to go barefoot. There are some areas where there's very small, sharp stones. And then when they get under your feet, it's a little bit agonizing and agitating. So on the trail, you can meet wild animals. You can be walking early in the morning, and the spider webs are sort of just sort of catching onto your face, and it's kind of hard to get it off. So there's difficulties along the path. And in the course of the day, we might meet with difficult people. And, you know, I'm going to put an interesting spin to it. A difficult person is maybe your best friend, because from that individual, you can learn patience, tolerance, etc. Some of the nice qualities, which are listed in the same chapter 16, verse 1 to 3, are a list of beautiful chapters or particular qualities that help one. Sorry, I got a little distracted when people sent chat messages. Okay, but even though it's flattering. So we have to be looking at what are the traits that make somebody very difficult. Well, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsarya, Mada, these lust, anger, greed, madness, envy, and illusion. And Krishna mentions in the Gita to Arjuna, now, one of your difficult people is Duryodhana. And he is difficult because if you decide to not go ahead with your duties and responsibility, he's going to be your best friend in a way, because he's going to scorn you. He'll ridicule you. He'll, you know, make up stories. He'll fabricate things about you. He'll make it hard for you. So I'm just giving you a warning. Beware. Beware. So, in other words, a difficult person ends up being, in one case, in a certain way, a kind of an angel, because you are forced then, under difficult circumstances, to cultivate the finer qualities of life. You have a chance to build character. So I think that's one of the most important things to you sort of glean from this difficult people. So now I think everybody knows, you know, we love to say, like, read a novel, watch a movie of someone who's difficult, some monster, right? It seems like the monster, and you can already tell who's going to win in the story. The monster, the bad guy, is going to be defeated, and you will reign supreme. That makes it a happy ending. And I don't think anybody could stomach any other kind of story. You know, the person who's ugly, the person who's brutish, and so on like that, that is the difficult person. There are, I guess, different categories of people, and, you know, we may think that those who are outside your community or outside your neighborhood, they may be difficult people, outside your family, you know. And but actually, you find that sometimes the most challenging individual could be right there with you. And we must have a deeper look at who that person is and what am I getting out of this individual. I mean, I'm not going so far as to say that if you've got an abusive person in your house, that you should have to stay there. Either he or she goes, and it's he or me, kind of like attitude. I'm not talking about extremism. I think what's really relevant to our situation, those of us who are, you know, having our discussion today, is that what about people that are in my midst that are not so, they're practically intolerable, but it's a fine line, you know. So that's what we're kind of dealing with. Those kind of people, and what should we really be doing with such individuals? I remember, you know, being in high school, we took that dreaded grade 13 in my time, because in the province of Ontario, you had to take grade 13. And we had a teacher who was just so difficult for me to sit in front of course, with the other 25 to 30 other classmates. But the person never smiled. The person had, you know, had monotone for words. And I said, how am I going to go through a whole year like this? You know? And I remember just kind of like looking out the windows, Oh my God, those trees are so nice to look at. The birds are so nice to listen to. Why do I have to go through this torture? Well, I mean, okay, so we have to go through some jump through some hoops in life. And I think some of the categories of people are gossipers, and I think we spoke about gossiping before with our group here. Complainers. Sometimes complainers have nicknames. They're called crybabies, whiners, and there's other terms. People are just absolutely negative, and they're very difficult to contend with. And then we also have fanatics. We actually have fanatics even in the midst of devotees. Yeah, let's look at some of them. In fact, I'm very, very tempted to write a play about fanaticism. And of fanaticism in the sense that, okay, so like people were saying, oh, um, you can't use sugar. I mean, first of all, we shouldn't use sugar. White sugar is terrible, especially, because it's processed through bones from a cow. Okay, great. Okay, fine. Prabhupada used white sugar. And then people complained about this. And then milk, it has a little fish oil in it. And, a very small amount. And someone said, oh, you can't you can't use asfatito because it's cut with flour. And, I have to ask, well, how much flour? How much? And then someone not so long ago said, oh, you can't use turmeric on a cottage cheese. Says, why turmeric? The miracle spice of all that wonderful sort of yellow that stains your dhoti and your kurta. You can never get it off. You mean that thing which it brings down inflammation, and has like a miracle spice. You mean there's something wrong with it? The person said, yes, it's cut with a little cornstarch. Oh, really? How much? And I just, to me, it's just fanaticism. I mean, okay, here's another example I'll give. Let's see. Oh, yes. Those of you who are familiar with our culture, we break our Ekadashi on the Dwadashi, the day after. And it's usually listed on our calendar, modern day calendars. Okay, you're supposed to break fast from 7:21 till 10:33, in that framework. And if you don't do it, it's a big aparad or a big sin, big karma, and so on like that. And I just, like somebody in the temple the other day said, oh, I'm going to break fast. I'm going to just take a little fruit for the Ekadashi, although you usually do with this, a stick of grain or something like that. And one devotee warned him, oh, no, it's supposed to be only at 7:21. And when I heard that, I said, oh, please give me a break. When Prabhupada was with us, he actually had us break fast at breakfast. When it was time for breakfast, that's when we broke the Ekadashi. We were just very practical, I can remember once everyone got so fanatical about the exact second when you break your fast, you'll be chanting japa in the temple room and somebody will come, here, take this grain now. And I just thought it was a little bit fanatical. And I don't think that we really need that kind of meticulousness in order to advance in Krishna consciousness. Say, like, for instance, there's a story of Durvasa Muni and King Ambarish, a king and a sadhu, like a lot of our stories are about kings and holy men, monks. Okay, so the monk was the fanatic, okay? And he was talking to the king and he said, we're going to make an agreement, you and I, we will break fast from the Ekadashi, the day when you fast from grains, and which is a great day because you give your stomach a break, you eat less heavy food, which is usually what grains are all about, and takes a lot of eat lighter foods and like fruits and vegetables, and you also downplay on the spices somewhat. So Durvasa Muni, he said, so we will break fast, even from water. We'll have a whole day of fasting, and we'll break our fast together. And we'll take some grains, and that was the agreement between the king and the monk. So the monk went about his merry way, and the king, Ambarish, who was a very pious holy man, very dedicated to Krishna, Vishnu, and he was waiting for the monk to appear. He didn't come on time. He wasn't so meticulous about his time. So it was actually time to break the fast with some grain. And the monk didn't show up. He was delayed with his timing. And so then the king decided, okay, I'll break the fast, but I'll come to a compromise. I'll break the fast by just taking a little water. I haven't taken any water. I honored the near Jal, no water for that day. So I'll just break the fast. And in this way, it won't be, at least I'll honor the time. So he took a little water, and in the course of his drinking the water, the monk, Durvasa Muni, appeared on the scene. And he said, oh, you've committed a big offense. This is a big sin. For this, I will curse you, because you did not honor our agreement. We were supposed to break the fast, and then, the king was actually quite humble about everything. Okay, you want to curse me, whatever. I see that as the plan of God. So be it. So the point is that Ambarish, who demonstrated so much holiness, and on the other hand, the monk demonstrated a level of fanaticism that that doesn't really become a relevant issue for those who want to cultivate genuine spiritual life. Yes, paying attention to details are important, but how far you go with it, how extreme you go with it, is something that leaves less to be desired. So this is fanaticism. And, when we hear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying in his Shikshastakam, the supreme monk is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the father of the holy name. And he says in his Shikshastakam, there's no hard and fast rule for chanting Krishna's name, because sometimes we'll find that we might, our pronunciation may not be the best. Here's another nice example that I like to give, that I heard someone explain. One devotee, he put tilak on, the marking on the forehead, and he did it in the area where there was the sink, and there was a mirror, and there was also a toilet. And Prabhupada was in the presence of three people, so one devotee who observed the tilak maker, applier, he said to Prabhupada, he put tilak on in the washroom where there's the toilet, right? And Prabhupada didn't take that so seriously. He said, while the one boy, or the one devotee, he said, you put on tilak in the toilet or in the washroom. And then Prabhupada said, his response was, he put on tilak. That was how he answered it. So Prabhupada was happy that tilak was applied, and he didn't take too kindly to the mention of a small detail, right? Another example, which I think I've given to this group before. There was this very nice lady. She was being cultivated to be a devotee, and she was a nice Indian woman. This happened in India. She was primed to be a life member for our society, and she didn't know all the finite details. So no one told her that onions are, they're not permissible. So she had made this nice meal, and one of the devotees detected and said to Prabhupada when she wasn't quite there, not within earshot, and he said, Prabhupada, there's onions in the sabji. And he gave a little kick to the devotee, says, eat it. Okay, so the lesson to be learned from that is that it was more important for this Prabhupada, to him, it was more important that this lady becomes favorable to Krishna and Krishna consciousness than to lose her and disappoint her and make her, she was the host and she was the cook, and he didn't want to disappoint her. After all, onions are kind of a vegetable. And so the devotees took the advice of Prabhupada, and they ate, and maybe they took a little extra water after, I don't know, after the meal was over. But you see, I'm just giving you an example of what Prabhupada did to counteract the tendency towards being fanatical. So it's more important to show love and kindness, those sort of details. Like if you actually go to some institutions, religious institutions, they'll be so kind. Somebody will be there to greet you at the door, and they'll shake hands. How are you? And they'll make you feel like you're almost like you're God, And so we might analyze our particular facilities. Do we do that for a newcomer, or somebody let to just figure it all out? I know I should take off my shoes. Where are my shoes? Oh, I guess there's coats there. I should put my coat here. And then you hear, all sometimes a lot of chanting noise. And if no one's there to actually greet and meet, then the person is left to not always have such a nice experience. Eventually, hopefully, in our temple, someone will come out and, demonstrate, do some love bombing, as we say sometimes, throw a bomb of love and let that person have a good experience. But it should start, the kindness should start from beginning to end of, such an experience for a newcomer. In the past, we talked about gossipers. We also talked, complainers are people who are whining all the time, and you just want to say, can I get a little, you're complaining, you're whining, can I get some cheese to go with your wine? Okay, so I'm just making a little fun. So people in these three categories are difficult. They are just very difficult, and I'm sure there's more. And, I don't want to sound like I'm a sadistic person, but sometimes you just feel like you want to put those kind of people, put them on an island and just let them stay there, or put them on an island and just have crocodiles, or all around, like a boat around them. So they have to work their differences out by themselves. Somebody had asked me also once, what do you do with very difficult negative people? And my answer was, well, if they're in the circle, try to put them out of the circle somehow in a very tactful way. On the other hand, sometimes it's tolerable, and you will be working with someone who's just very difficult, and you just feel like, I really need a break. I'm so glad that my Guru Maharaj has given me the Gayatri mantra. I can have 5 minutes away from that person, or I might have to catch up on my chanting, my japa. So I have a good excuse. Oh, I have to do my meditation now. So those are, situations that make it difficult. How about people with bad breath, or they haven't taken a shower for a while and they don't know what H2O is? Oh, these are real difficult circumstances to be under. But somehow or other, sometimes you have to be kind of straightforward and sometimes say, you talk too much. You're a motor mouth. Did anybody ever tell you that? Did anybody ever say that you just don't know when to put a closure to when to shut up? So sometimes we have to be straightforward. And that's also a quality of a great devotee, one who's straightforward. Some of us are a little shy, but I'm saying under certain circumstances, we learn the lesson of being tolerant and patient, and these are some of the best qualities you can have. It's like the best medicine or the best antidote. Now, like say if you're walking through the forest and you've contacted poison ivy and it gets in your ankles and starts there. You might crawl up your leg and then, you didn't even know it, that you hit some poison ivy, and it's a good idea to know what the plant looks like. So then you're stopping for a rest. I know this is a common story we hear about sometimes. A group of kids, they were out in the forest, and they didn't know their plants, the good ones and the bad ones. So one of the kids had to go to the toilet, and nature's call was on, and there was no toilet paper. There's no provisions for that. They're far away from any, like regular facility. So the child grabs the nearest plant, and it's poison ivy. He grabs a few leaves and he rubs it on his backside, and he didn't know that it was poison ivy. So within hours, he gets this horrible itchy rash, which is just so intolerable. So, anyways, what do you do in such a circumstance? If you know your plants, there's something called the jewel weed, and it usually grows near the poison ivy. And what you do is you kind of like take the juices from it and you rub it in the irritated or infected area, and it's supposed to really help out. I also have a remedy for poison ivy because I used to get it every year. Tilak. You remember we were talking about tilak? Or you just, in the forest mud, you just take some mud and you rub it in the infected area. Hopefully you didn't have to do it after you passed stool. Anyways, this world is to be tolerated. There are lots of things that make it difficult. It's not just people. It's not limited to human beings. Usually when we talk about miseries, we say in the fourfold ways. There are miseries that come from the atmic, it's called the body and the mind. Miseries that arise from other living entities, adibotic, klesh means miseries, and miseries that arise from natural causes, adidaivik, klesh. Snowstorms and so on, I'm looking out the window and the snow came on Monday, and it's still going to be here this next Monday, tomorrow, like 1 week it's been around. When we talk about antibiotic, it's oftentimes to give the example of mosquitoes. They're real pests, and what are you going to do about it? Well, there are certain things that you can wear that will screen them off. And we just have to find what is the antidote, what's the medicine for difficult circumstances. When it comes to people, it's so much about communication. And when someone's difficult in your presence, it could be a mirror. You're just kind of like looking at yourself. Well, maybe I've pestered people in the past, and I'm just getting my just desserts. There was one person who was creating some difficulty for Prabhupada. He came from Bengal, the same place that Prabhupada was. And of course, I love Bengalis. I love their sweetness. I love their sabjis. And I know their sweets are outstanding, but I'm not so much into the sugar. But I love their sabjis. And I love their eggplant when it's cooked in ghee, not in mustard oil. And it can be so nice and buttery sabji. It's great. And so anyways, this gentleman met Prabhupada, and they were happy to have met each other because they speak the same language, have the same common ground experience. And but when Prabhupada gave a talk, then this gentleman who was not being so gentlemanly, he started to sort of challenge him and was somewhat aggravating. And the devotees around Prabhupada were also aggravated. But Prabhupada took it really well. And he said, probably in my past life, I have been, was difficult with that person. And I'm getting my just desserts. I'm paraphrasing. So sometimes that's the case. Let's put it this way. None of us are perfect, you know? And while we might, identify this person as a pain in the neck, maybe I am also a pain in the neck for somebody else, and I was not aware of it. Maybe I offended, and I wasn't aware. It's like if I walk on the road or on the forest path, just to give that as an example again, I'm crushing on ants. And I'm not talking about the fire ants, the real offensive ones. I'm just talking about innocent little, cute little ones that are all over the place, working very hard, giving a good example. Work hard, okay, achieve, build, grow, okay. And so I've made it, I've crushed a few of those ants, and I wasn't aware of it because there was no crunchiness, there was no sound or anything like that. It was just a soft approach to death. And so what about that? I'm committing sins all the time. I'm reaping bad karma. So what can I do? What can I do? I mean, I find that one of the nicest things to apply in the matter of dealing with a difficult person is to just, especially if they just talk a lot or complain a lot, is that, well, to chant, just chant, start doing japa. And if it's in an environment where I can't do it loud, I'll just do it in my mind. This way I kind of like block out what they're trying to say. So it's not as good as chanting, so that it's within earshot, but at least I'm doing some kind of chanting. I'm focusing on the holy name, and I can, get the impression of the words written out in my mind. In my mind's eye, I can see Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Like almost like scrolling across the sky or something like that. So people are difficult, but another example, there were some rugby players. They were on a plane with Prabhupada, and they were smoking. This is the days when you could smoke on some aircrafts. And Prabhupada's assistant was complaining to the flight attendant and saying, can you ask those guys to stop? So they did. They were told to stop. And then they started up again after a little while. And then Prabhupada's servant assistant just got up and he was all angry. They don't understand. And Prabhupada indicated, with a wave of hand, it's okay, And he said, we are no better than them if we can't show any type of tolerance or patience. So this is how will we enter into pure devotion if we don't have some hurdles or challenges? There has to be some difficulty applied in the process of bhakti. It just, it's not that Krishna's going to throw gulab jamans at you all the time. He's going to throw you some darts, perhaps, He's going to make it a little difficult. And just like a rose has beautiful petals on it and smells really good, but it also has thorns on it. So if you want to do some gardening and you've got roses in your garden because they're such exceptional flowers, well, you're going to get pricked a little bit. It's going to happen for you. When I was in Guyana, when I walked the country there, I went through a little bit of the bush, and they had thorns this big, my God, and they were super sharp. And, I got a few tattoos on the arm for that few days over there from that little bit of blood leaked out. But I mean, other than that, I enjoyed the walk. I mean, life is going to have its pinpricks. Prabhupada used that term, pinpricks. It's just going to be like that. So tolerate. And I find that people are very intolerant. They're never going to be happy about anything, and they're quitters. That's another difficult person, somebody who quits on you all the time. You hire somebody, you got a business going, and they just quit. I know people who try Krishna consciousness, they give it a shot, but they jump in really deep into the water of Krishna consciousness, and they also jump out just as fast because they're in sort of an impulsive kind of, let's say, culture that they've established for themselves. Perhaps it's just the way they're born, and in and out really fast. And they generally get very excited about something, and they also lose interest just as fast. So in the complexities of the modern day world, we're going to find more and more characters or colorful people, if I could use that term. And like say, even areas of imbalance and mental disease, it gets just so much more complicated now than ever before. And the numbers are increasing of people under those kind of conditions. So that's really tough. It's really difficult. I am moved by one couple I know in Vancouver, and they have a son who's very autistic, quite to the extreme. And they just look after him like anything. They'll discipline him so much. Now he's like he's in his teens and sometimes uncontrollable. He's strong, and he's just not. He understands love. That's the most important thing, that he understands love, and he demonstrates his frustrations. And I did write a poem about the autistic kid, I called it, and I was just so impressed with that family. And just how they demonstrate so much tolerance and love and forbearance and just I think it's really important to pick up on saintliness wherever you can find it, just like we were reading about how nature provides gurus. Every day you're going to meet gurus. You're going to meet people who tolerate and who just go ply through the difficulties, and they have a goal. They try to achieve it. They're trying to reach some destination, and they do it, and they do it with such dignity, And ultimately, we want to also die with dignity. We want to be in a position where I will be able to think of Krishna. For that, you have to have a cool head and be very equipoised. So it's to try to develop these particular qualities of knowing how to deal with difficult people is kind of a blessing in disguise. And Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta, said once that if someone praises you or like overpraises you, they're more like an enemy. Your real friend is someone who will try to correct you for the obvious wrongs. And so you want to have a little bit of that association around you. So for those of you who are married, know for certain that your partner is somebody who's your best friend, because they remind you of some of the things that you need to be reminded of. And for those of you who are not yet married, the young ones who are so scared because you might get a little bit criticized, well, I say, overcome your fear. I would just say, let's grow up, let's move on, find someone that you can live with. And if it's not that, then stay as a brahmachari or brahmacharini and live with a guru, and that's it. But don't be somewhere in the middle. Let's get on with life, have some children, and do a favor to your parents and give, etc. Let them have the opportunity to have some grandkids to play with and to help train. So those are some of the thoughts that I had in my mind on this particular topic about fanatics, gossipers, complainers, and just difficult people in general. There's a point at what they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, I understand that. But I think be like a camel, take a bunch of straw. I've seen it, like in India, I've seen camels and elephants and other, what they call beasts of burden, carrying heavy loads. And they do carry an extraordinary amount, like weight-wise. And there might be something that the loader puts on, and it's just a little bit too much. That animal cannot bear it anymore. So I can understand that, but I think we can take more that you'll be surprised. Take more than you could imagine could do. So thank you very much. I would just like to leave off there for a minute and ask if you see if you have any questions or comments or anything at all. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for giving a wonderful class today. And this class could be actually applicable to any settings. For human learning, anyone can participate in this class. And one thing I would like you to please clarify a little bit, that how difficult people will be the blessings in disguise. Like the difficult peoples are blessings for us in disguise. I like this thing. Could you please expand a little bit? Thank you.
Yes, I think I was trying to go there. So in any case, what we're saying is that, in order to survive in this world, you have to have what they call tough skin, right? So in order to get tough and not be just a softie, in order to be a survivor, you have to be put into circumstances that are going to be a little bit difficult. And otherwise, strength will not come about. It's kind of like a mental workout. If you have that experience of dealing with difficult people, and I see it as the opportunity or a chance to learn the art of how to deal with difficult people, and whatever shape that takes, whether it's cracking some jokes or, give them a little bit of their medicine, if you like. I would say I would be light and playful about difficult things. I think that's, some people are just very dry, flat, and they take everything so seriously. And you just want to shake them up, go to them and shake them up by the shoulders, and just lighten up. Life is not that bad. Lighten up. So see all difficulties as some kind of opportunities to learn the art of how to deal with difficulties, how to bear the pain. And Krishna does tell us in the Gita, right in the beginning, Matra Sparshasta Kontiya, Shitoshna Sukadukada Agama Mahadukyatyas, Tongues to Diksha Swabharata. Learn to tolerate, there's heat, there's cold, there's wind, there's rain, there's this fame, infamy. Learn how to be somewhat tolerant, because that's what makes up a saint. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wonderfully answered. Very nice, Maharaj.
You are one.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to request our devotees, if you have any question, you can actually unmute yourself and you can ask the question directly to Maharaj. Please come forward if you have any questions. This is a very practical topic in your personal life, office life, everywhere.
Yes, well, maybe everyone's being difficult today. There's always that thing where when you're doing a presentation, you hope that there will be a little bit of reciprocation, but sometimes your listeners, they need a little time to contemplate what was already said. Nothing really comes up as a question. Maybe questions were answered if they did, arise in the mind. Yeah.
Welcome.
So,
Maharaj, actually, your class today, I made some notes for myself. And I'm thinking that to share with my family members, my kids, and they will understand how nice it could be if we can change our views towards the people around us. And you actually pointed a very wonderful thing and a very important thing, that modern day's world will meet different kinds of mental issues and people we're going to meet. This is very true, Maharaj. and very well explained, Maharaj. I like that. And you said you gave the examples of Prabhupada in the plane. That was another one very nice. And I like this one too. It says at the time, just start chanting in mind at least, so that you can cool yourself. And you
Yeah,
can,
I mean, thank you. I believe it's probably a good idea to make a list of the approaches that you could take, and I should probably take the time to do that. But in general, yeah, learn some tolerance and use some techniques that they'll make it things more bearable.
thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
Maharaj.
for the.
We enjoy all of your classes. And today's class, as I mentioned before, this class could be like a good for any settings, any age, for schools, universities, personal lives. And everyone should learn how to deal with difficult people so that they can be happy in their lives. Thank you, Maharaj, for always being something special for us, for the devotees.
Well, thank you. I mean, Prabhupada tells a little bit of example of the life of Buddha, who was a prince, right? And he was so sheltered in the palace that there was almost like a deliberate effort on the part of the family and people in his domain as a young boy when he's growing up, a deliberate attempt to shield him or bar him from let's say what seemed to be ugly circumstances, which is what life is really much about. So he was so sheltered, so protected in a way that once he got a chance to get outside of the palace and he saw someone who was dying, and then he moved around, he saw someone who was experiencing illness, another person, old age. This was like a shock to his system, and so he realized that he was, let's say, put in a little bit of a bubble, which was not helping him. And he came to terms with that and said, okay, the real world is the world of birth, death, old age, and disease. So from that, he learned, okay, this is really what life is all about. It's not all about play and fun and living in that kind of illusion. The real world is the world which is tough. So let us learn toughness. Nobody likes the snowstorm. I kind of do. I mean, it humbles us, but the shoveling the snow, dealing with cold sometimes, I think it's one of the greatest gifts that could come to us. Instead of seeing snow as your enemy, why don't we see it like this? This is nature saying, become pure, become crystal-like, become white, and cleanse your existence. This time of the year to put into practice your cultivating the finer qualities of life. Yeah. So yes.
I left your room and I went to my room.
Okay, because somebody's unmuted and something like that. So that's
Sorry.
sometimes that's a difficult.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Okay. Someone's
Hare
got a
Krishna.
question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture, Maharaj. And this is that is very, very nice and easy way, just engage everyone in the service of the Lord, just a simple way to engage the people, so you cannot have grudges or enmity among anyone, so just think practical. Yes. So it is nice example, Maharaj, you brought it in a nice way, so that it is so amazing, Maharaj, to listen from your mouth.
Well, thank you, bro. I'll just give you another example. There was a time when we were engaging in food for life. We were cooking prasadam, and there was a time when we were going to AIDS patients, and the time when I was doing it, I was going to some women's centers, with an assistant. And there was one place on Bathurst where we went to a women's center a few times, and we brought really nice prasadam there. And some of the ladies were not so, so refined. And one of the ladies, she said, oh, where did you get the monkey suit? Because I wore my dhoti and everything, like, right? And she had never seen a monk before, I guess so. And I said, oh, she monkey suit. She clearly expressed it like that, as if to put me down in a way. And I just said, oh, this is not a monkey suit, it's a monk's suit, you know? And so the lady who was in charge there running the center said, oh, well, you handled that very well. Okay. So the point is that, you know, you just have to know how to learn the art, the fine art of how to deal with many different kinds of people. It's not just difficult people, but it's people who are mediocre or people who are even, you know, nice, you know how to be nice to someone and don't be overly nice, you know, learn equilibrium, you know, learn the art of how to dance around people and make everyone feel good, bring good energy to the table or to the room. And if someone is being really difficult, yeah, maybe sometimes you have to, if somebody's shouting and you're in a position to do so, maybe you have to shout a little louder, you know, if you have the authority. It's like if you're running a temple, you might have to, you know, if someone's being obnoxious, you have to out-obnoxious them.
Sometimes you got to behave like a Kshatriya, yes?
Yes, that's right, that's right. And even Chanakya Pandit, he says, one of the moralists, he was saying that, you know, if you're dealing with a thief or a criminal, you have to think like a criminal. And if you're trying to get him under control, and think about his mindset or her mindset, and then you can outsmart them.
Nice one, Maharaj. Nice one, Maharaj.
It's, you know, just difficulty, any difficult circumstances is simply a door to learning a new art. That's all. And people are the most complex of all forms of life. You don't know, it's unpredictable what a human being is going to say.
Yeah. Anytime their mood changes, Maharaj, yes? Anytime, you know, that the mood can be changed, yes?
That's right. That's right.
But then it would, when you are engaging your service on the Lord Krishna and chanting all this, then you come on a focus point, yes?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are sort of, there's a lot of crankiness in the world, you know, grumpy people. And usually it just means they didn't have a good sleep at night. So you might do them a favor and just go and have a good rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Dash off. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj.
Sure. Hare Bol.
Hari Bol, Maharaj.
Wow. That's amazing. I must see you sometime soon.
Absolutely, Maharaj. Absolutely. I was just talking to Nita about the same. We'll call you, Maharaj.
Yeah, on the 31st, we'll have a party or something.
For sure, Maharaj. For sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone.